Broadcasting from Park Avenue West, you're watching WMFD Television, Channel 68.1, Mansfield.
This program discusses sensitive mental health issues, including suicide. Viewer discretion is advised.
So basically, I got out of school then to 3 o'clock range, and I hear my dad calling up the stairs, and all I then know is, there's my dad just standing at the bottom of the stairs saying, like, your brother died of a heroin overdose. How could he be so stupid?
Maybe an hour after we got the message that we lost Danny, Danny's sister said to us, we were all crying, and she says, what do we do? What do we tell people? And I'm like, baby, we got to tell them the truth. This is nothing that can be hidden, because otherwise the suicide will win.
We're not mental health professionals. This is just something that happened to our family. We direct people other places. And most important of all, I think, don't quit. Keep fighting. Keep living. Things will get better.
Here we go for 3, 2.
Good evening, and welcome to Sparking the Conversation. We're Jeff and Donna Heck with 33 Forever, and we are so excited to be able to bring you another weekly half-hour message about mental health topics and resources surrounding the mental health challenges. Today, our show's purpose and hope is to provide both inspiration and information, making conversations about mental health the norm.
Traci Willis is our guest tonight, and Traci is a licensed social worker and mental health counselor. She's also a loss survivor, having lost her older brother Michael to an overdose 10 years ago. Since that time, Traci has become a tireless advocate, speaking to school and community groups on her and her family's experience. Traci, welcome to Sparking the Conversation. We're glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Yes.
So you are a Mansfield area native, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Born and raised in this area, and you... Tell us just a little bit about you and your background, and then we kind of want to get into the story of Mike and your family's experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to high school at Lexington, and then I actually then moved on and went to the University of Findlay for my bachelor's, and then the Ohio State University. I was one of the COVID-19 graduates.
Okay.
It's an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
so I did my master's online and graduated there.
For mental health
tongue-tied.
counseling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apologize.
No, you're fine. So probably the experience in your life, and not to even put words in your mouth, but your past experience with your brother, did that lead you to your career?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Mike?
So I started off, I was very introverted through most of my childhood. I kind of stood in the background. The boys did all the cool stuff. And then when Mike died, so my brother died when he was 23. And then, so I was 17 at the time. And then I have another brother, Dave, who was in the middle.
Okay.
So, prior to 17, I was super quiet, very introverted, just kind of hung out in the shadows. I was totally fine with that. And then kind of after he passed away is when I started really getting into advocacy, the mental health community, things like that.
Let's talk about Mike a little bit. Tell the audience, if you would. I knew your brother as a young person, and we did, and he was friends with actually one of our daughters. Mm-hmm. But tell us a little bit about your brother, about Mike, and then just give us some of the introduction of the story and kind of help the audience know what your experience is.
Yeah. So it's kind of the order. So it's Mike, and then Dave, and then me. Mike was always the more quiet one. He was the one that I kind of looked up to. Like when he had something to say, people listened. Dave was kind of the more like rambunctious one. People still listened to what he said, but he said more. And then you had me that just kind of hung out in the background, still trying to figure out kind of who I was at the time. And so, I was a junior in high school. Dave was in college, and then Mike had actually just graduated. He had studied business at Kent State. He double majored, Dean's List, just graduated school, got a job in South Carolina, and so he was working there. He had his first career. Everything was going well. He came back to visit, which is when the situation took place.
Okay.
So let's. So Mike was not necessarily what you think of as maybe a classic substance use person, substance abuse person.
Yes, his face was not it. Very handsome, very intelligent, very educated, obviously, and moving forward with his career.
But I think what that also shows us is that there's nobody that's immune from opioids and from the issues that relate to that. So Mike was out of college, had graduated, he was starting his career, he came back to Mansfield for a visit. And give us a little bit about kind of what happened. How did you lose him?
Yeah, so he was coming back home from South Carolina just to get a couple more things, get his Xbox, because the job was going well, so he was planning to live there longer. So, I mean, he was going to be home for only a short period of time. So he came home at probably, it was after midnight by the time that he arrived home. So I was actually already sleeping. Like I said, Dave was in school, but my parents stayed up. They had cooked him all these meals. Like, they were super excited. So my parents did get to spend time with him. I woke up early to go to school the next day, so the last time I saw Mike was when he was leaving. So basically, I got out of school then to 3 o'clock range, and I hear my dad calling up the stairs, and all I then know is, there's my dad just standing at the bottom of the stairs saying, like, your brother died of a heroin overdose. How could he be so stupid? And that was it. So then it was later when we found out everything else. So, I mean, if you want, I can just start now.
Why don't we take a breath
Okay.
and take a break? Because news like that, I mean, it's something you'll remember forever, and I'm sure your parents feel the same. And but we'll come back with a little bit more about Traci Willis and her advocacy for mental health.
Savor a delicious caramel, French vanilla, or sugar-free French vanilla iced coffee, only $1.50.
Hi, I'm Joe Trollian, the Executive Director for the Richland County Mental Health and Recovery Services Board. Addiction to drugs and alcohol create a personal struggle as well as impact those around you. You are not alone. We have many professionals and organizations who care. Reach out for help today. Know it before you need it. Visit Know It, the letter B, the number 4, the letter U, needit.com.
Brought to you by the Richland County Mental Health and Recovery Services Board, growing and preserving a legacy of hope and success within our community.
If you've been injured, whether personal injury, medical malpractice, or wrongful death, you are not alone.
And you definitely don't have to fight alone. While you focus on recovery, let the Heck Law Offices focus on your case.
With over 45 years of combined legal experience, we understand your situation and the entire overwhelming legal process.
With an injury you're already handling too much, let our team be your advocate.
I'm Jeff Heck.
And I'm Jeff Stifler.
We're Mansfield's Injury Lawyers. Call us today or visit us at hecklawoffices.com.
The Lord says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and find life burdensome, and I will give you rest."
Join us for the majesty of the Catholic Mass, here Sunday mornings at 9:30. For more information, visit mysundaymass.org.
Free healthcare, hundreds to more than $1,000 per month in disability compensation, and tens of thousands for college tuition. Choose VA and see why Veterans Trust in VA reached an all-time high. Claim the benefits you've earned at choose.va.gov.
This program discusses sensitive mental health issues, including suicide. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Sparking the Conversation. September is National Recovery Month, and it is a perfect time to end our month speaking with our guest today, which is Traci Willis. And Traci lost her brother, Mike, 10 years ago to an overdose. You were telling us how you had found out when you came home from school. What happened next after that?
Yeah. So my dad had responded by making the comment, like, how could he be so stupid?
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, like, there's a lot of emotions that came through because all we knew was that there was an overdose and that Mike was dead. So, I mean, you had the anger, the frustration, disappointment, sadness, everything. Like, he was broken, and that was the first time I've ever seen my dad respond that way. And so, I mean, kind of fast forward a little bit. So we later then found out. So I told you that Mike had got home late that evening. Mm-hmm. So that morning, he actually had plans to go meet my grandma for lunch. She was in her 90s. So, but she was super excited to see Mike, so she had made him lunch. Prior to getting there, he actually met up with one of his old friends. And then, you know, kind of then the facts of the situation, we then found out. So, you know, by the time Mike was found, he was in the Hobby Lobby Crossroads Church parking lot. He was dead of an overdose. His body, we found, was moved from the driver's side to the passenger side of the car. There was blood on the upper mirror. And then we had found out that there was salt water poured down his throat. They thought that would revive him. But the big thing was there was a 4-hour time gap between what was going on. So then we had to kind of go through that whole process of trying to figure out, you know, how was that time spent? Why was there not assistance? And then later you discover, you know, that like Narcan, naloxone exists. You know, there may have been something that could have saved him. We found out that he had a thickened heart valve. And so when the heroin was injected, his heart actually just shut off. So there wasn't, you know, at least it brings me comfort, you know, to some extent, knowing that there wasn't, you know, there was that possibility that Narcan might not have saved him. Mm-hmm. But there's still that missing piece that we'll never know.
And that's super hard to have those unanswered questions, that sort of the what ifs. And I think that's probably pretty typical for every family loses. Our family's done it too, and every single family member does, what if I had? Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure your family went through that too. How in the aftermath, Traci, did you respond and your family respond? Obviously, you're broken. I mean, mm-hmm. we know that from firsthand experience, and the devastation is just hard to imagine. You can't really imagine it, but tell us a little bit about the aftermath.
So it was 10 years ago, so it's a little blurry. I can tell you it was messy. It was absolutely messy. You know, there was a lot of changes that happened. My family actually ended up moving about 3 or 4 times after this situation took place. There was multiple job changes through everybody. You know, I was then shortly after going to college, I ended up going to the same school that David went to. So that was nice. So it did bring my family closer in some regards. We definitely had more of a priority towards each other. But yeah, it's just messy.
Yeah, and it is, and there's no getting around that. The bond that your family has, and again, we know you and we know your family a bit, so you know we know some of that story, and we watched from afar. But you know, you really did, as a family, I think, come together, and you specifically made some decisions about what you were going to do. But before we get to that, I sort of wanted to know, you know, a lot of times substance use disorder or substance use can be an indicator that somebody's having some mental health challenges, that they're trying to medicate their, you know, self-medication. Mm-hmm. Other times, there are times where people use substances and they end up with mental health problems because of the guilt and the shame and all those things. So there's a lot of mental health crossover with substance use disorder, right? Mm-hmm. And you know that now as a professional, I'm mm-hmm. sure.
Yeah.
Did you have any inkling about Mike, that there was anything going on with him? Did you know about anything previously or learn anything afterwards?
Yeah. No, unfortunately not. It's just kind of guessing games. You know, there was a lot of life transitions that he was going through at the time. But sadly, it was something that wasn't necessarily discussed as far as, you know, I feel like it's fairly common though, like throughout households, people don't often talk about mental health until it's too late. And that was kind of the situation in our house too. There wasn't, you know, to the best of my knowledge, none of us ever attended counseling prior to this situation occurring.
And that was 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, I mean, in 10 years, things have changed dramatically. I have a little bit of stats from the National Institute of Mental Health, and we don't know if Mike had an issue, if this was his first time just experimenting, but we do know that it was fatal. But people who have a substance abuse disorder, they are 2 times as likely to have a mood or anxiety disorder. And then reverse, this is interesting, half of all individuals with a mental health illness at some point have a substance use disorder. So we are, you're at the point where you are able to help people and use this story for good. So we are going to come right back, and then you can share what you've been doing with Hope and since we've lost Mike. Thank you, and we'll be back to Sparking the Conversation after this message.
We are more than a counseling center.
More than just a medication or therapy session.
What do I like the most? It's gotta be the team.
Providing the highest standard of care, that's just what we do.
And equipping patients with coping skills to be successful. That's so important.
It's simple. We are just hopeful. We are hopeful for our patients.
We are hopeful that we can help them find their way to a better balanced and more resilient self.
We are Hope 419.
Visit us today at hope419.com.
I'm sorry that I didn't know what to look for, Pops.
It's not a cry for attention.
If only he had accepted help.
If he only knew how many lives he had touched.
How much we would miss him.
How much her friends and family loved her.
The hard work you put in now will pay off.
You don't really know what you're going to be in the future. You could be the next doctor, the next psychiatrist that helps those children understand their mental health issues.
Try brushing your pet's teeth. They don't like it. It's a pain. Introducing Chew Brush, the world's first self-brushing toothbrush for dogs with a toothbrush on the inside. Watch as they chew, they brush their own teeth. The Chew Brush cleans their teeth and gums in 3 ways. The nubs on the outside massage the gums. The tooth-shaped openings safely scrape away plaque and tartar, and the hidden bristles brush your pet's teeth clean while they play. The more they chew, the cleaner their teeth get. Look at this before and after. In just 5 days. Wow, what a difference. No more pain, bad breath, or expensive life-threatening treatments. Order Chew Brush today for only $14.99. We guarantee your pet will have whiter, brighter, healthier teeth and gums or your money back. Order now and you can double it. Just pay a separate fee. That's 2 Chew Brushes. Order now.
Call 1-800-859-0537. That's 1-800-859-0537 or visit getchewbrush.com. So call 1-800-859-0537 now.
Welcome back to Sparking the Conversation. We're here with Traci Willis, and Traci is telling us tonight about her personal experience with overdose loss and her family's experience. And you just got done telling us a very moving story about Mike and the way you guys lost him. But Traci, the thing that struck me as much as anything was I watched you. You were a young person in our community, and I watched you, how you responded and reacted. And it's very interesting you said how quiet you were, because that's not my perception of you, but apparently that's how you really are. Mm-hmm. But the reason I have a different perception of you is really truly how you responded and reacted. So tell our audience, if you don't mind, just about what got into you after you lost Mike, and because you became an advocate, mm-hmm. and you became an outspoken advocate about these issues and loss. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So after we lost Mike, my mom was invited to speak in a drug forum, and she did really well. It was a very high attendance. It took place at Lexington, so where all 3 of us had went to school. And after that event, I mean, it still went well. Like, there was good feedback. We have to understand this was also back in 2011, so it was 10 years ago, and there was a lot of stigma associated with drugs, and especially heroin, opiates at the time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she shut down, and then I think I just casually offered to Sherry Branham at the mental health board. Mm-hmm. She's still there now, but yeah, I was 17 at the time. I offered to kind of step in. And then I ended up actually doing, if I remember correctly, it was about 4 drug forums and over 50 classrooms. And then there was actually another person locally who asked me to go speak to their college, which was in Teal College in Pennsylvania.
So you got on the road. You took your story and shared it all over the place.
I'm sure you saved so many lives and helped people who were struggling either with addiction or had a family member understand, because it's incomprehensible to some of us, just like us.
Well, and I think the other thing that everybody can take away from your story is how important it is for people to not to think they're the only one. Because what we know about opioids and the opioid epidemic is that, you know, it doesn't care how much money you make. It doesn't care where you live. It doesn't care what side of town you're on. It doesn't care your race. It doesn't care your religion or any of that stuff. So what else have you done? Because you've made this now, honestly, your career, right?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. So being 17, 18 by the time all these projects are taking place, I then actually started writing scholarships and ended up getting myself into the University of Findlay. So I actually started off with public relations, and then I quickly transferred over to social work because, that's where the passion is. Ended up studying that. Initially, I had a plan to work more directly with drugs and alcohol, and then I realized that, having limited experience with that, I think people that have kind of firsthand experiences, they are really good at their job. So I kind of promote that side, and then I will handle more of the mental health side. So I like to partner in that regard. So that's how I got into the counseling realm. And then, it kind of follows the timeline, too, of when you think about the attitude towards the drug epidemic. So 2011 wasn't very positive. That's when I kind of spoke up. And then, gradually society started to be a little bit more.
The disease process.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And that was kind of during my college years. So that I kind of toned down. And then, where we are today, I believe maybe 4 or 5 years ago, then I started doing International Overdose Awareness Day on a local level. And so essentially what that turned into was a scholarship for the Starfish Project of Richland County. And what they do is raise money to send people into treatment. And so gradually from how we started this event to where it is now, unfortunately it's been on pause with COVID, but where it is now is we're actually directly, promoting the recovery numbers. It's not about, everybody that we've lost now. We acknowledge that. But we also acknowledge that, that there is a way to survive this, and here's the treatment. Like, this is what we can do. How do we approach this subject?
That is beautiful, because the hope is what we always promote at the end, because even the most desolate and tragic situations, there has to be some spark of light, and you are truly a spark of light in this epidemic.
We appreciate your bravery and your willingness to share with us tonight, especially, and also, we recognize and are still very, very saddened by your family's loss. That you can never get over that, but it's so amazing what you've been able to do, Traci, and we're proud to know you and proud that you're a part of Richland County.
Thank you so much for being on our show. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we will be back in just a minute with our memory moment here on Sparking the Conversation on WMFD.
Catalyst Life Services, a comprehensive behavioral health organization, has been serving the community for 70 years. Our wide array of wraparound services and our ability to treat the whole person is what sets us apart. It's everything you need in one place: mental health, crisis, detox and addiction services, case management, and peer recovery support. We even offer vocational programming to get you back to work. Catalyst Life Services. Call today and get the help you need.
Kevin called Consolidated Credit. He paid off over $12,000 in credit card debt. Consolidated Credit worked with creditors to cut his interest rates to just over 4%, saving Kevin some serious cash. Kevin paid off his debt in full in just 2.5 years. Call 800-482-6014 for a free consultation. That's 800-482-6014. Call now.
Kelly paid over $21,000 in credit card debt with the help of Consolidated Credit. They enrolled her into a debt management program that cut Kelly's payments by more than half. Consolidated Credit worked with her creditors to reduce her interest rates so she could pay off all her debt fast. Call 800-482-6014 for a free consultation. 800-482-6014. Call Consolidated Credit today so you can do your own happy dance.
Welcome back to Sparking the Conversation. This is the part of the show each week where we do a memory moment. And Donna, you want to introduce the memory moment tonight?
I do. I have, I'm going to show you this side first, a pillow. This was made by one of our daughters, given to all of us in Danny's handwriting. She would always sign her I love yous with a heart and her double heart down there. So all the siblings, dads, everybody got this, but then she had found something Danny had written with I heart you, mommy. So this is my pillow, and it is so comforting. I sleep with it every night. It's next to me, and I mean, it truly doesn't bring sadness to me when I see it. It's just, this is how she was. Her writing was even happy. Yeah. That's why it's just, for us to be where we are today. What brings you comfort? Like, for example, from her.
So for me, I don't think we've even really talked about this. I wear one of her rings here on my right hand, and I wear that all the time. I wear my wedding ring on my left hand, and I wear one of Danny's rings that happens to fit my left ring finger perfectly, and I wear that every single day. Right. And I my right hand, and I mess with it, and that's one way I always know she's working on me too. Yeah. So anyway, those are good memories, and some people have little stuffed animals in their bed. Don has a pillow. Yep. But it's good. And again, those are very fine, very good memories, I think, that we're happy to share with you tonight.
They are. And it brings comfort, I know, to a lot of people. And a suggestion, if you know somebody that has lost someone, even a parent, getting something like this made, there's companies on Etsy, you just Google it. It is the best gift I think I received after losing Danny.
Yeah, that's neat.
So.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight on Sparking the Conversation. We look forward to seeing you next week, right here at the same time here on WMFD. And we hope you have a good evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Good night.